Greg Flynn with us now on the show. He is the chief of the West Bloomfield Fire Department. You and your team have been a huge help in getting the vaccine out to members of our public, and we want to say thank you for that.
Well, good morning, Tyler and Ronnie. We play a small part in a greater mission that are the healthcare professionals at Oakland County, at the pharmacies, at doctors' offices, and hospitals across the great county, all of Oakland County, as they get these vaccines into arms. They're doing a great job. We like to open up our fire station to that and provide them a safe place to do that, but they're doing most of the heavy lifting there. But thank you.
With that, though, when you see the numbers start to go up, with the number of vaccines becoming available here in the state of Michigan, does it give you a sense of relief that you're hoping that this is coming to an end? Because you and your team have been living this each and every day on the front lines.
So I guess we have to define what end looks like.
I don't think we're going to be going back to what we used to know, right?
Right. When we go back to the Spanish flu, our 100 years ago, looking at what literature, what the news was saying, what medical records were saying, this was like a 3-year process before they really felt like they were clear of it. Now, do I think it could be 3 years lingering? Again, we're already 1 year in, and sure, I think there can be lingering issues. Do I think those are going to be, there's as much airtime that CNN is going to continue to have that right column every single minute of the day up and in our face? I don't think so. I think those things will start to fade away, but I think your science, your research, the medicine side of it, the vaccine boosters, all that's going to continue. And we're going to adopt some great things like we've said since day one. I've never seen so many clean hands as you walk around as you do now. And my goodness, this is a great thing that we're doing that and understanding disease transmission. Remember, it happened 100 years ago too, and then it faded. So, we forget about those things over time.
And the good thing, we did not see the flu cases this year. And I think in part that was because of the measures that we were taking to avoid COVID.
Science isn't that hard. I think sometimes we make things so much harder, but we need to understand it. I hear folks talk. I just jumped off of a state call to join you guys, and the state EMS medical director was speaking. And, we're to compare numbers to a year ago and start to say that there's another surge or there's this or that. We're in a completely different place than a year ago, and you're comparing data sets that aren't completely, in my humble opinion, they're not apples to apples. And so, we understand a lot more about the virus, and I can tell you that our calls are flat, if not extremely low. Our cases, we still get people that get positive. But we're finding there's so much wide community spread, Ronnie, that you don't even know where people are getting it from at this point because it's everywhere, and we're not seeing the hospitalizations. Our friends at Henry Ford, I don't know if you've had any of them on lately, what they're saying, but the most recent conversations I've had, they're not in this spot that they were in April and May. I'm sorry, February or March. Yeah, April, May of 2020. So we're in a much better place there.
Yeah, and when we look at the numbers, but a lot of this has to do with understanding this virus, adapting to the virus, but how do we treat the virus? And how we're treating it today is completely different than how we were treating it a year ago.
For sure. And we have plenty of, real live data that's coming in that's saying, hey, here's a group of people that took this approach, and now we have nearly 8-9 months worth of follow-up to that. And we're going to see it. I have a college student. I am sympathetic, but still practical about what college should look like for him, and what his mother and I would like it to look like. He's at the University of Michigan, very proud of that, but he's at home with us. And there is a development part that we were looking forward to our son experiencing that he hasn't been able to experience. So we're anxious to safely get back to those things, but everything we do takes on risk, everything we do. And, I think we've got to learn to live with some of the risk that's out there. And I think many people have demonstrated an ability to do so. And illness has been around us. I think, again, we're putting so much emphasis on COVID, but we have dealt with the flu, and we experience things like this every year in healthcare that doesn't get this much airtime. And so I think we do need to bring some balance to the conversation.
Yeah, I like that. I will say my niece, she also goes to the University of Michigan. Go Blue.
All right.
Tyler is cringing right now. But she's set to graduate. And currently they have plans for virtual graduation. And, you're kind of like, well, you're at the big house.
Yeah.
You can have, separate, maybe per program or this, that, and the other, but you're at the big house. You should be able to have some type of graduation ceremony for some of these students because they are missing out on so many things. But on the other side, they're living through history. They're going to remember that first year of college when they couldn't get out or they were in the dorms. My niece has an apartment at the University of Michigan. She's there with 3 other roommates. It's just her and the one roommate. The other 2 roommates are still at home, choosing to go remote with that. So there's so many decisions for so many people to make throughout this pandemic. I will say the good thing about the state of Michigan being remote where Ohio is open, all the college kids are back in-person classes. So my nephew couldn't leave to go on spring break because he had to be in class. So, if you're remote, you can work from anywhere.
That's right. Well, and I want to be careful here. I don't want any of my comments to be disrespectful to anybody that has lost someone to COVID or is, I get that many people have lost their lives to this. I just think it's important to have as part of the conversation that we have had an opioid crisis in this state, that we have lost thousands of people to. There's motor vehicle accidents. Death by suicide continues to be the 10th leading cause of death across the United States. I do, as a person in public safety and crossing over into healthcare, the point I'm trying to make in the conversation is there are people suffering in lots of ways. And we need to keep our eye on all of those things too, as we continue to learn how to live with COVID. And this approach sometimes I hear in conversations is all of a sudden someone tells a very dramatic story, which is just that. It is. But I don't know that we should be basing everything off of those stories as we look at public policy for the masses. And that's hard. That's hard for public health. That's hard when there's a news story that pulls at our heartstrings, and then you're looking at a business owner who's failing because they can't get anybody in the door. All of these balls are in the air, and that's what makes this so hard to have a conversation about, because you sound like you're on one side or the other. And I don't know that there's a side here. I think it's just being informed and moving forward and trying to make good public health decisions.
Yeah, I don't think there is. It's like you said, there are so many aspects to this as we continue to move on, and we'd like to remind people as well not to put off those yearly health screenings because those are so important during this time as well. I know people that did not get those screenings and now they are further along in an advanced stage of a disease that maybe could have been caught at an earlier stage. So we have to remind people we need to continue to live our lives as well and be cautious of some of those other things. It is okay to go to your doctor. It is okay to go to the hospital. It's okay to get those screenings because those are important things as well. And I think that that part of the conversation kind of got started late because there was so much focus on COVID. And so some of those people did miss those screenings. So hopefully the conversation has expanded to allow people to feel more comfortable to visit their doctors right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen my veterinarian for Ruby in a year. I mean, one of the texts comes out, she goes into the building, I wait, and then they text me, and then I go and pick her up at the door. So there are lots of things that have changed, but we need to keep finding how we can reintegrate. I'm a social person. I miss that social interaction. The Zoom did it for a little bit. It just doesn't cut it anymore. I'd love to be in the studio with you guys. I'd love to be shaking hands again and doing those things that just connect me with people. That's just where I am. And but I need to modify those things to keep others safe and keep my family and everybody safe. But I think we're doing a good job, and we need to continue to celebrate the successes that people are having while being conscious and aware of what remains out there and the dangers that can linger if we're reckless with our approach.
So I have found, Chief Flynn, that it's a little bit like, when you lose power, you walk into a room, you automatically still flip the switch. You don't have electricity in your house, but you're still flipping the switch, right? It's automatic. I'm that way when I see people that I haven't seen in a long time. I go in for a hug, and then you have to stop yourself and say, wait a minute, you can't do that today. And you also have to gauge where other people are and respect where they are in this virus as well.
Yep, and we're gonna navigate that, and it's gonna be weird for a bit, and who knows? In a couple of years, maybe we're gonna find that that's where we're back to, and as long as everyone can do that and feel comfortable, then so be it. But this will definitely leave a mark on us as far as the history of living through this, like you said, with not just those that are in college, but those in healthcare and those that are teachers and those that stay at home as a parent, and what that was like. I mean, I can only imagine having a small toddler or younger during this and just feeling that's how I got out. I mean, I always took the boys out and did stuff when I was home with them. And, like I said, those 24-hour shifts, I was home 3 days out of the week with the boys while Danielle was at work. And so it was, again, I do appreciate where some of those folks are, and that's tough. It is. It's very tough.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. And with that, Chief, if we can talk about kind of your industry right now. We know there is a teacher shortage currently. We know the police department is experiencing shortage as well. How about the fire department? Are you guys hiring over there, and what's that process look like?
We're very fortunate here as we continue to work on a culture that will attract an inclusive culture, a culture of diversity, to be reflective of the community that we serve here in West Bloomfield, Orchard, Kingo, and Sylvan. I will recognize that there is nationally a shortage of paramedics and firefighters. I'm proud to say here that we're only have one opening. We have a candidate that we've got our eye on at the Fire Academy currently. We're just kind of waiting to see how they do there. Then we'll be at 100% of our budgeted position. So we are very grateful for that. And I think a lot of it comes down to, you hear so much negativity about being in public service, and we just don't want to play into that here at the WBFD. We think it's a great career option. It's a great engagement with the community. It's something new every day that this township supports their paramedic firefighters with great equipment and a safe building to be in. So we're in a good place, but I am conscious that, yes, there are colleagues in Warren and Southfield and other places that will exactly say that you're kind of hunting for those folks, but we've been very fortunate so far here.
That's great to know, and it's because it is a great community. I think our community supports what you do and even what our police officers do here each and every day, because we know it is a sacrifice as well. With that, just a couple more questions before we say goodbye. How's your budget looking through all of this?
Well, our budget is doing great as far as what we were predicting. That's exactly what a budget is. We predict these expenses. We're staying within our budget. We're taking advantage of all of our opportunities for additional sources of revenue through the CARES Act, through additional funding that may come available, whether those are federal dollars or federal dollars that go to the county for distribution. We continue to leverage that. Our Deputy Fire Marshal, Dave DeBoer, is exactly tuned in on that frequency and is right at the front of the line. And we're ready to go with shovel-ready projects that can be applied for reimbursement. We just got word that we got nearly 80% reimbursement for some things that we put into the state just earlier this week. So I'm very pleased by what the staff here at the FD is performing, along with our friends in finance for the township. We're getting the job done, and we're taking care of the taxpayers' tax dollars and leveraging them in the best way to serve them.
Well, those are tax dollars that we like to spend supporting people such as yourself and your entire team over there. Chief Greg Flynn with us here on the MegaCast for the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Anything we didn't ask that you want to maybe touch on before we say goodbye?
Well, I think one thing to touch on as we wrap up is the weather is nice, and I continue to watch some of the social media pages for citizens concerned about West Bloomfield, and I continue to hear about the amount of trash along our roads. You're looking for something to do, let's grab a bag and all lend a hand and walk through our neighborhoods, walk up and down safely, make sure you have something high vis on, and be careful. But let's all do our part to clean up West Bloomfield. The Optimist Club of West Bloomfield is planning a cleanup on Orchard Lake Road for Saturday, April 24th. And I'd love to come back to, and maybe we can get some of the other groups that have adopted a road in Oakland County and work on that across the county of getting things cleaned up after really a great winter and moving into a spectacular spring and summer.
That's a good note to leave on. Get out, enjoy the nice weather, clean up our neighborhoods as well. Chief Greg Flynn with us here on the MegaCast. Thank you again for your time.
You're very welcome. Good to see you guys again.
Okay, happy weekend to you.
Right back at you.